All right, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the One of One podcast, One of One Cards podcast. My name is Luke, and I am your host. In this week's episode, episode number 9, we have a very special guest. We got Matt Dolloff, Boston sports commentator. Welcome, Matt Dolloff, to the show.
What's up, Luke? Great to see you as always.
Absolutely. So, in this week's episode, we are going to be doing some predictions for WrestleMania. Are you
Sure.
pumped about WrestleMania 41?
I am always pumped about WrestleMania, Luke. Just to be fair, just to get this out of the way, I haven't seen every second of every show leading up to WrestleMania, but as you know, I've been a lifelong wrestling fan. I feel like I have a good instinct for this stuff, and I've caught up on the storylines as much as I can. I feel like I have a good grasp on what I think is going to happen. I feel pretty confident about it.
Okay, so we might have to do a follow-up episode possibly and see what were we
Oh,
right with, what were we wrong about? Yeah.
I think we have, yeah, I think that's a must to do some kind of recap reaction.
Mhm. So let's go over the rules first. The very first thing we're going to do is who's missing from this year's WrestleMania. Some of the big names. There's a lot of big names missing. We're going to be making our predictions as of today with my predicted order for the matches. I know they said who's going to be there for Saturday, who's going to be there for Sunday, but I'm going to kind of go over my predictions on that. And we're also going to discuss a little bit about who's going to possibly benefit this year from WrestleMania based upon our predictions from a card standpoint. I mean, WWE cards are hotter than they've ever been. So we're going to look at it in that direction. But before we begin, I want to make sure that you like and subscribe to the One of One Cards channel on both YouTube and Instagram. And Matty D, if you want to promote yourself as well, feel free to do so.
Sure, yeah. I mean, anybody that I send this link to and watch this already knows me from my work at 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston. I host a couple of podcasts. I host the Sports Hub Underground with Ty Anderson, and I also I'm sort of the second chair on the Patriots Hub podcast with Alex Barth. Sometimes on the air, plenty of written work too at 98.5thesportshub.com. So check all that out, and you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Dolloff.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's begin. Number 5, I would say, for who's missing. It really, I mean, I know you got to have it's the SmackDown before WrestleMania, so you want to build that up. You want to try to put a little bit of momentum into WrestleMania. But really, what really surprises me, they've spent months and months building up Street Profits in the SmackDown tag division. How do you feel that they left them off the WrestleMania card?
Well, I mean, they have a few tag team matches already. I feel like maybe they didn't want to overload that.
Mhm.
But when you look at it, like they have the New Day versus the War Raiders, and I know that's for the titles, but that doesn't seem like a high impact, high leverage type of tag team contest anyway.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I would have expected to see them on the show because they usually are, they're lower on the card usually, but they usually throw them in there as, a special attraction in terms of tag team matches. So yeah, I suppose a little surprising that they would relegate them to the SmackDown before.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like WWE seems very high on Montez Ford, in particular, but again, they just have not really either separated him from Street Profits as a whole, or just try to push him as a single star. But maybe at some point within the next year or two, I could see it.
I mean, I thought WrestleMania would have been a nice stage. You probably agree with this. Nice stage for him to like betray his partner and
Yeah,
go off
no,
as a singles guy, right?
yeah, but yeah, clearly not happening anytime soon. Uh, Now coming in at number 4, I mean, this one's a big one. Chad Gable. Where is Chad Gable?
Yeah, I know. You would think that they would find a nice cruiserweight for him to put on a little Mac Classic with. I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, American made. They've been, really pushing on Raw in the last couple months. I mean, great stable, and yet Chad Gable. I mean, maybe his sickness, his illness, is preventing him from being on TV and on WrestleMania. It's very disappointing.
I could see him maybe like in the Intercontinental title match. Maybe he makes a surprise interference of
Mhm.
some kind.
Mhm.
Starts
Possibly,
a new
possibly.
program with one of those guys.
Yeah, but very disappointing. Now number 3, Sami Zayn. Wait, how in the world do you have Sami Zayn, probably the hottest white meat baby face around, and you have him not being on WrestleMania 41 card?
That's a great call, Luke. Where's he been? I feel like I haven't seen him at all.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed as though maybe he was going to make an appearance in the match if Kevin Owens and Randy Orton were to face off. Maybe that.
Yeah,
Maybe
true. That whole
maybe
thing
he
fell apart.
shows. Yeah, maybe he shows up at in the match with Jey Uso or something. I don't know, but it's a little strange.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe he'll show up in either the Uso match or maybe in the main event with
Mhm.
Roman, CM Punk, and Seth
Yeah,
Rollins. I could see that.
yeah, maybe that's
Maybe
the
maybe a
pull.
big heel turn or something. But yeah, that's true. Like I'd probably put him on my number. I'm interested to see who's ahead of him on this list because
Mhm.
he's arguably the number one guy missing.
Yeah, I mean, number two, I would say in terms of overall character work for women in the last year, you have her win back in December, the United States Championship. I would say
Yep.
Chelsea Green not being on the WrestleMania 41 card is a major disappointment.
Yeah, she's been getting over. She's the champion. You would have thought they'd set up some kind of match with her. I guess they're not. I mean, it's funny that they have these secondary women's titles now,
Hmm.
but no women's U.S. title match, and the women's Intercontinental Champion is in that
Yep.
tag match. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's a little odd the way they set that up. You'd think they would, set up singles matches if not right before WrestleMania, on WrestleMania. So that is a bit odd to me.
Yeah, they even built the stable around her with the secret Hervis and everything. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then number one, though, I mean, what shouldn't be that big of a surprise if you follow me on the One of One Cards Instagram channel. How in the world do you bring Alexa Bliss back at Royal Rumble to what is probably the biggest pop of the entire night?
Yeah.
You put her in the Elimination Chamber match. You tease multiple times a feud with Liv Morgan. You tease that the Wyatt Six is going to be doing something of some sort at WrestleMania, and yet nothing from her for like the last month.
Yeah, I know you're a huge Alexa fan, Luke. I've seen the pictures. I'm a little surprised that there's no involvement with her whatsoever. It's like they can't come up with anything for her, which is, yeah, like she had the biggest return, like the biggest surprise, biggest return, however you want to describe that. And you'd think they would set something up for her, that night, starting with
Yeah,
that Raw after, like set up something for the ensuing 3 months. Like, I don't know, maybe this speaks to like a bigger thing with the writing team and creative and how they're sort of transitioning. They're still sort of transitioning out of the Vince McMahon era and into this new era where maybe they just need to sort of streamline things, get on the same page. It feels like they're having trouble sort of figuring out how to land on stories for people and then sort of plan it out because it feels like a lot of this stuff is sort of unplanned, chaotic. They change their mind from week to week. That's what it's felt like with a lot of these storylines that I've been following and reading about and watching. Maybe they're just struggling to figure out long-term stories for everybody and to get everybody on the show, and that's why you're seeing big names like Sami Zayn and Alexa Bliss just get left in the dust here, which is it is a little surprising to me.
yeah, no, it's very, very strange. But we'll move on to one big thing with the card world. Topps has done it before with Major League Baseball, where they have what's called the buyback. This year, there's going to be two matches where the winners of those two matches is going to be able to have their cards turn into cash that could be spent at the hobby shops throughout the country, eligible hobby shops throughout the country. So you might not be aware of this, Matt, but the way it works is as follows. If you were to buy 2025 WWE Chrome and you collect Jey Uso, Gunther, Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton cards, you must be a Gunther fan out there, the Ring General.
I like Gunther, yeah.
Mhm. So the winners of those two matches, if you will be able to turn the WWE 2025 Chrome cards of theirs into cash. So if you get, the base cards, it's worth $20 of cash. If you get some of the lower tier refractors, you get $40 of cash. If you get, some numbered cards out of 100, they're worth $100 cash. And if you get anything under that, if you get like an out of 85 and out of 95, or even if you want to be foolish and turn it into a one of one superfractor into the store, it's worth $200 each. So you could be walking in with like a wheelbarrow full of cards with like
Mm.
hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So depending upon who wins some of those matches, you could be very well off in getting some high end cards.
I'm admittedly not, not familiar with the whole card
Mhm.
thing, to be honest, Luke.
Yeah,
But yeah, like that's something where my first instinct would be to hold on to it. Where
yeah, oh
like
yeah,
even if it's like a $200 card, like what's it going to be worth 20 years from now? Maybe it could be
hmm
worth a lot more than that.
yeah. We might want to turn that in for a new box of Chrome down the line. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's begin with night one. So we'll spend a minute or two for each of these matches. Night one, I think they are going to start the night off hot with the World Heavyweight Championship match between Gunther and Jey Uso.
Wow.
Who do you think wins this match?
Oh, it's been Jey Uso the whole way for me. Like I feel like they've just been setting it up. Regardless of what happens in between, this has been the destination all along. Is that Jey Uso is going to have his WrestleMania moment? So which is why I'd be maybe you're hearing things that I haven't heard, but I'd be a little surprised if they opened the show with that. But I just feel that Jey Uso's been, he's been on track for this for a long time. He's as over as anyone we've seen in a long time.
Mhm.
And I know that he's a little controversial in the internet wrestling community for, maybe his relative lack of in-ring prowess,
He does
especially
a lot of
compared to
kicks.
Gunther. But Gunther will make him look good. Gunther can put on a good match with just about anybody, in my opinion. But I see Jey Uso going over Gunther in this one, and maybe not the end of their rivalry. Maybe they have a rematch at the next pay-per-view
Mhm.
after this. I know I still call them pay-per-views. That dates me a little
Premium
bit.
live events.
They're called PLEs now, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next PLE, maybe they have one more match, but I see this to being Jey Uso's coronation as world champion.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think this of all the big matches at WrestleMania this weekend, I think this one is probably the most obvious. You have to have Jey Uso win. I mean, they call him main event Jey. They got to put the belt on him at some point.
Yeah.
There were complaints. There were complaints when he didn't win the Intercontinental title last year for a bit, where it looked like he was never going to actually win that. They put the singles belt on him. Then this is just, in my opinion, the most obvious thing that he
Yeah.
has to win the world title.
Main
Knows how long the reign is. He might be losing it at SummerSlam for all we know, but at least he will say that he is a world champion.
I think yeah, this is sort of just like minting him as a true main event star. I
Mhm.
think it's not necessarily that he's going to be the champion for this big long reign or anything. Maybe he doesn't even make it to SummerSlam, but like this is going to sort of just establish him in that next that top tier. Like yeah, like you said, he's been called main event Jey Uso. He's way way over. He won the Royal Rumble. It's on that classic track where I don't see Gunther being the one to, get in the way of that.
No, no, definitely not. Now, I think you want to kind of after you've had this major match, I think you're going to want to kind of go for a little bit of a lesser one, especially with this new up and comer. We have El Grande Americano versus WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. I think El Grande Americano might be shocking the world in a little bit of a cheating fashion. I think he might be beating Rey Mysterio in this match.
Interesting. Well, I'm interested to hear how you think that might go down because what I'm thinking here, Luke,
Hmm
is that Rey Mysterio
hmm
wins by disqualification. I see El Grande Americano trying to pull something and it doesn't quite work out. And Rey Mysterio sort of catches the brunt of that attack,
hmm
but he comes out on top technically because he's technically the winner. But the ending sort of gets spoiled by the heel there, El Grande Americano.
Yeah, yes, for me, I think El Grande Americano might be pulling a little bit of shenanigans, and I think he might get a little bit of an assist from American Made or maybe even Chad Gable. I don't know. Maybe Chad Gable might come out. It's tough to say. But I think that El Grande Americano is just going to pull out the win for some reason. I don't know. I just get that vibe. Mhm.
Yeah, I could see him. Yeah, that's sort of my read on this is that El Grande Americano is gonna, get screwy at the end of the match, whether he pulls out a cheating kind of win or whether, he tries to pull something and ends up getting disqualified. I do think we can both agree it's gonna be
Yeah.
kind of a weird finish on that one.
Oh, for sure. Now, next up, I think that the next match is going to be the World Tag Team Championship match between the War Raiders and the New Day. What do you think's going to happen in this match?
I got the New Day winning the titles here. I don't
Mhm.
see the War Raiders being a team that goes over on that stage. I feel like they are made to drop the belts in this particular situation. The New Day, they've been a very interesting team ever since they turned heel and they turned on Big E. And I think this is going to be sort of a big moment for them, and they're going to sort of go on a run as the heel tag champions. I got them winning the titles, maybe totally clean. I don't know if they even maybe they cheat in some way as a team.
Mhm.
There's a foreign object involved or something like that, but I see the New Day taking the titles.
Now, does Big E make an appearance at all of some in some way or
Oh,
another?
man, I hope so. I
Mhm.
hope he does. I can't predict that. But I was there when he won the title at on Raw at TD Garden, and been a big fan of his for a while. I was obviously devastated when he got that neck injury.
Yeah,
I'm still holding out hope that he could come back at some point. It would be awesome to see him make an appearance, but I don't know how they would be able to work that in and have the New Day win the
yeah.
titles. So, and it
Maybe
would
a
be a little
big
odd if Big E helps the War Raiders win, helps a couple
yeah
of fat bikers win the retain the titles. I don't know. I don't see
maybe
how
a
that would work story wise, but
maybe a
I'd
Big
love it.
E appearance the next day. I mean, or on Monday Night Raw with some new tag partner, and then starts up a feud between New Day and Big E and somebody else. That's maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for at some point. Big E does make his return to the ring, even if it's not for a long time. I would be that would be a nice story for him and
Mhm.
just for the company. And yeah, like I think they might have to do that relatively soon to like sort of keep that whole thing about getting revenge on the New Day. They want to keep that thing fresh. So if they want to bring him back, hopefully it's soon. And
Yeah, no, for
maybe
sure.
WrestleMania would be a good jumping off point for that.
Mhm. Now, another match that we have coming up, I think after a tag match, I think we would see a transition to the women's singles match between Jade versus Naomi, Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Now, from what I was seeing, this is like the first women's singles match at Mania in almost like 20 years that's not for any title. I believe it goes back to like WrestleMania 22, if my memory serves me correctly.
Oh my God. It's funny,
Yeah.
Luke, that again, I'm dating myself, feeling old. Like when you said that, I was thinking back to like the 80s, where it's like, oh, they
Yeah.
haven't had that was
No.
like 40 years ago. Or so we're only talking
Mhm.
WrestleMania 22. Oh, geez,
Mhm.
I don't know what that would be.
I believe it was
Um,
Candice, Michelle, and somebody else. I would have to look up later, but yeah.
well, let's say that's the ironic thing is that like this women's division is so good these days. Like
Mhm.
they could just have a regular singles match. Like it honestly makes sense for them now to be able to have this kind of match where it's like they're the only thing that's at stake is their rivalry and the whole
Mhm.
story. There's no belt on the line like that. It almost makes sense with the depth and the talent they have in this women's division. It's just a little surprising that it's been so long that they've had that. But I think it makes sense for this particular year.
I think Jade is absolutely going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I feel like that's a perfect situation where you have the face triumph over the heel that's been tormenting her. And doesn't their rivalry go back to AEW or something like that? Like this goes back even before
No, no,
WWE or
this
something.
not to my knowledge. No, I believe this goes back to. I mean, they were just the three of them were together when Jade had originally come to WWE last year, and the three of them had fought Damage Control at WrestleMania 40. They ended up winning, and then it looked like Naomi was kind of viewed as almost like the third wheel, even though she is extremely talented and has always had a major presence in WWE, except for that lull that she left. But yeah, I think Jade wins, and I could see her challenging for the women's championship relatively soon. I would say it wouldn't shock me if she's in like the SummerSlam main event down the line.
Yeah, no, I think that she's going to be on that trajectory, even if she doesn't win at WrestleMania. Like, if I want to make a quick comparison, Luke, if I think back to Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, which opened up WrestleMania 10. That was a straight up singles match, and Owen beat his brother straight up. So it's like, I wouldn't be shocked if Naomi pulls off that win. I feel like it would be, it would be kind of a shock if she pulled off
Oh,
a clean win, like nothing screwy about it. But I still feel like they've been building it up for Jade to come out on
oh
top, and
yeah, yeah.
I feel like they're setting the stage for WrestleMania to be the big moment for her.
Yeah, oh, definitely, definitely. Now, after the women's match, I think we're going to go back to a men's match with the United States Championship match between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. I think Jacob Fatu, in terms of promo, in terms of wrestling ability, we're talking about one of the greatest like first years ever in the history of WWE, or at least in recent memory. He's on fire.
Oh yeah, he's as exciting as anyone that's come along in a long time, in my opinion. Just the constantly. It's not even just the matches, which are just completely unhinged and
Mhm.
crazy and unpredictable. It's also his persona off the ring, out of the ring. And it's like
Yeah.
I feel like I can't stop watching whenever he's on the screen. And so he's definitely one of my favorite new stars to come along. And I feel like this is going to be another coronation of sorts. This is going to be just the next step for him,
Mhm.
the next step up for him to move up to another tier, and he'll go on a run of defending that title for a while. And that'll be sort of the stepping stone to his sort of growth and upward trajectory.
He hasn't taken a pin yet in WWE, and quite frankly, I could honestly see him not taking a pin until he loses like a world title. And I mean, I know that sounds crazy, and that would involve him somehow maybe having both the U.S. title and one of the world titles. But yeah, I mean, I think they are pushing him to the moon and almost view him as what they would have wanted Solo Sikoa to be. And that's not to say
Yeah,
Solo Sikoa is not talented. It's just that Jacob Fatu just has it.
he has the it factor, right? You can
Mhm.
tell when he's on the screen that he's next level.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like you're right. I feel like they're gonna build this up to where it's gonna take someone like Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins, like a big name, babyface name, to sort of take him down. And
Yeah.
so I feel like this United States Championship is only just the next step toward a continuous rise for him. It's gonna keep going throughout this year and maybe into next year.
For sure. And now I think the second to last match of the night for night one, I think we have the women's championship match, WWE Women's Championship match between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. This feud has probably garnered the most backlash online. Um, I, quite frankly, am fine with it. It hasn't bothered me as much as other people, but I do think that people certainly go out of their way to attack Charlotte Flair on a regular basis, even though she is one of the greatest of all time. But people obviously make the connection of her with Ric Flair, and they just are like, okay, she's been pushed to the moon too much. But I mean, honestly, she's had some of the better matches at Mania in recent years. I mean, you look at her match at WrestleMania 39, unbelievable stuff with Rhea Ripley. But yeah, people just go out of their way to just trash it. I don't know.
I mean, elite worker.
Yes.
She's one of the best of her time for sure.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, she came back and it felt like they wanted to set that up as her triumphant return, where like you have the heel that goes away for a while, you start to miss them, then they come back as a babyface. You sort of saw it with Roman Reigns this past year. I think they were expecting a similar thing with Charlotte, and the crowd just wasn't having it.
No,
That being
no,
said,
they were
Luke,
not.
I still have Charlotte winning this match. I have Charlotte going over Tiffany Stratton. I think they're going to stick to their original plan, which was, I think, for Tiffany to be the pompous heel character, and for
Hmm.
Charlotte to sort of triumph over her as the baby face making her big return and getting back to the top of the mountain on the grandest stage of them all. I just think they're sort of just reversing the roles in terms of Tiffany Stratton's getting over with the crowd, but Charlotte's going to go over her as the heel now, and I feel like I think she needs to sort of embrace that. I watched that cringy segment with them a couple weeks ago. It was hard to watch. I didn't think it was bad. I just think it was sort of just it was cringy. It was sort of hard to watch. I think Charlotte needs to sort of embrace that the return to the heel and just accept that the crowd's not going to embrace her right now. Like she has to sort of go on another heel run But I think they're not going to change plans in terms of, the booking. I think she's going to go over Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, and the rivalry is going to continue. Tiffany might win the title back from her in relatively short order, but I still have Charlotte going over at WrestleMania.
Yeah, she's been on fire online, laying into fans and stuff. You gotta wonder if she'll do that on Friday night to just stick it in one more time of just laying into the fans. But yeah, I think Charlotte wins, but if Tiffany were to win, I could see that happening too. Just as maybe a way to punish her for going off script online. You always hear people saying
Hmm.
no with it. Um, Now, the main event of night one. I feel like this should be for grander stakes. I know it has Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Three of the biggest of the last 20 years. But just should this have been for the title?
It's a little odd that there's no belt on the line, right?
Yeah.
But I guess they would have had to either take the belt off Cody or have, one of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, or Seth Rollins take the other world title off of Gunther, which I feel like that's sort of beneath them. But
Hmm.
then again, like they're caught in this sort of no man's land. You're right. Like there's no other belt on the line, which makes it a little wonky.
Hmm.
Which is why I think what's at stake is Paul Heyman. Like
Yeah.
what's Paul Heyman gonna do? Who's gonna
This
who's gonna walk out with Paul Heyman over their shoulder?
Paul
That's
Heyman on a pole match. Is this what it is?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got to climb to the top of the cage and pull down the Paul Heyman and put the Paul Heyman around their waist, and then they could walk out with the Paul Heyman. I feel like that's what they've sort of set up the stakes are. It's like where do his loyalties lie? And we saw that the most recent Raw before tonight, we're doing this on the 14th of April, the last Raw. Seth Rollins, he has a chance to curb stomp Paul Heyman, doesn't do it, tells Paul, now you owe me a favor because I didn't just kill you. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what Paul Heyman does, who he ends up with by the end of the night. If you want my prediction, I have CM Punk winning this. I feel like they've been building it up to be his WrestleMania moment. Like we've been saying, it sucks that it doesn't involve winning a title. But I just wonder how much longer CM Punk's even going to want to do this. And I feel like this is going to
Yeah.
be maybe this could be his last opportunity to have that sort of WrestleMania glory. I'd be a little let down and disappointed if they built that whole thing up just for him to not win, for Roman to win for the 19th time at the main event of WrestleMania. And I just don't know if Seth Rollins has quite enough juice to go over both of those guys and or steal Paul Heyman from them. I can't really figure out what's going to happen with Heyman. I just feel like whatever happens, it's going to be CM Punk going over in the end.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I think that it's going to be, I mean, if they're going to be having this as the main event of the night, I think there's going to be something very screwy happening. I think that everybody's under this impression that CM Punk is going to either win and he's going to be with Paul Heyman, or Roman Reigns is going to win and Paul Heyman's going to go running back to him. I could see it where Seth Rollins ends up winning. He cashes in his favor and he gets help from Paul Heyman in some way to help him win this match. And somehow there's like a new stable or something that gets formed as the new like heel stable. I could see that. It's the end of night one. It's kind of a major shock
Yeah.
to
You,
the system of WWE.
you think maybe like a Shield reunion of some kind, Roman and Rollins back together?
No, I don't see Roman and Rollins. I mean, I could see them maybe putting like CM Punk through the table in some way in the match, but then I don't see them, going out on top at the very end. I think it's going to be Seth and Paul Heyman's going to be doing his like, that laugh and smile of like, ooh, look at what I've just done sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a fair point that like it would be a little weird for Paul Heyman to, turn heel, betray someone, and you have the baby face going on top at the end.
Hmm.
The thing is, like, and I don't want to spoil my predictions for night two.
Hmm.
I'm just not sure they're gonna have, two heel wins to close out both nights of WrestleMania. That's what I'm wondering about with the booking. But yeah, like this is sort of setting up for Paul Heyman to do something shocking. Do what you least expect. And what people are least expecting, to your point, Luke, is for Rollins to go over.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm curious to see how they sort of pull that off. I'd just be surprised if like they had all this build up for CM Punk only for him to lose. But maybe they have it. Maybe it could be Roman. Roman's the one getting pinned or something like that.
please.
Like CM Punk doesn't get pinned. But I could see it. Yeah, I could see CM Punk losing, and then he goes on the next program. He goes on is you stole my WrestleMania dream from me, Paul or Seth or whoever does it to him. Like I could see that happening. I'm gonna stick with my prediction in terms of CM Punk sort of, coming to fruition on that whole storyline of him finally having his moment because I feel like this is his last chance at that. And maybe we could make a side bet on that. And we'll see what
Maybe,
happens.
maybe we'll see on Saturday.
So now that we've gone over all of our night one predictions, one thing I want to point out is that I think that when it comes to cards, I would say that Jey Uso winning the belt, I think could definitely see. I mean, his cards have actually gone up quite a bit over the course of the last year or so, anyways. I mean, he did main event WrestleMania 39 in the tag match during night one. I think that Jey Uso stands a great shot. I mean, when you have a world ch heavyweight championship, in your hands, your card prices are going to go up. I think another person who has a chance of going up in value as well, I think is Jacob Fatu. I mean, if he's winning the United States title, as we know, it's usually the trajectory of going up in terms of how people view you as an individual. I think his cards have a great shot of going up in price.
Yeah, I would put Jacob Fatu at the top of that list. Yeah, Jey Uso's, an obvious one because he's, going for the World Heavyweight Championship. It'd be his first big win. Yeah, the boyhood dream, all that stuff. And so that would make a whole lot of sense to me. And I feel like Jacob Fatu is, you're almost sort of, for lack of a better phrase, buying low on him. Like if you get in on him now, and then a year from now, I wouldn't be shocked if he's in a main event type of situation or fighting for a world title
Yeah.
at WrestleMania 42. So I would say get in on Jacob Fatu while you can.
Yeah, although it's pretty unbelievable. Some of his cards have been selling into the four figures already, which is
Wow.
pretty crazy. Yeah, I know.
I
People,
mean, the guy's got an effect.
yeah.
I
Oh,
don't, I
yeah.
haven't heard anyone that doesn't like him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's certainly a couple notches above Tongaloa, that's for sure.
I think so. Yeah, he's completely stolen the show from all those new guys they brought in for the
Yeah.
new bloodline.
hmm Now, night two of WrestleMania. This one, I think people are going to be having a lot of debate on. In my opinion, I think night two is going to start off with the Intercontinental Championship match. We got Braun Breaker, we got Dominic Mysterio, we got Finn Balor, and we have Ciro Miedo. Who do we have? We got Penta. What
Penta.
do you think?
I think you're right that's going to start the show. I think that match makes a lot of sense to start the show. I got Dom winning the Intercontinental title here. I got him taking the belt off of Braun Breaker. I think there could be some kind of Judgment Day interference
Mm.
as a sort of side storyline. I have Dom sort of betraying Finn Balor at some point, and somehow that helps him win the title. I don't know exactly how that would play out, but I got him betraying Finn Balor, winning the title. Finn Balor leaves Judgment Day, face turns, starts a whole new program with Dom. Maybe take that all the way to SummerSlam, but I see Dom and Finn Balor feuding for the Intercontinental title. Big face turn for Finn Balor after getting betrayed.
Yeah, I could definitely see this as being the match where it looks like somebody else is going to be getting the pin over somebody else, and then Dominic Mysterio kind of swoops in there and gets the pin and just angers whoever was supposed to, be there to get the win.
I could see that. Yeah, like after the match, you got Finn and Dom like sort of confronting each other, giving Finn gives him a little shove, like what the hell was that sort of thing. I
Yeah,
could see that happening.
he's celebrating and Finn's just kind of left off to the side of being just very angry.
Yeah, or I could see Finn almost getting the pin, and
Mm.
then Dom breaks up the pin like with the belt or something. Like he does
Yeah.
something that's sort of like out of bounds, over the line, like something to betray Finn and sort of knock him out of, take him out of Judgment Day altogether. That's where I see the whole thing going. However it plays out, that's where I sort of see it going.
Yeah, and talk about two other people who I'm kind of surprised are not in this match. Again, I know it's they having, at this point, making a ladder match, I guess, but like it's a little weird to not see Sheamus in a match like this, and also Ludwig Kaiser as well, because they were involved in the IC title feud for a bit earlier in the year.
Yeah, Kaiser only faced Penta like 19 times earlier this year. Like I feel like every time I turned on Raw, it was Penta versus Kaiser. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are two
yeah,
guys again. Like I guess we'll see him in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal
yeah,
on
maybe,
SmackDown.
yeah.
But yeah, like you just mentioned it, it's crazy how we're gonna get to it later, but the street fight is the only like gimmick match. There's no ladder match. I don't know if they do tables matches anymore. No cages, no cell. Like that. That's a bit odd, I think. Like, and it's almost like when WrestleMania 2000, they had the ladder match there, but they didn't have a singles match all night. Like
Oh,
that's what this
yeah.
feels like. They only have one gimmicky type of match, and it's a street fight for throughout the 2 nights. Like they're really depending on just the pure wrestling ability
Yeah,
for these
I'm sure
matches.
the Sin City Street Fight, which I actually have coming up next.
Oh, there we go. Nice
Yeah,
segue.
match number two.
That's a
If,
professional podcaster.
there you go.
I'm just
Drew
kidding.
McIntyre versus Damian Priest. This is a feud that this technically goes back to last year's WrestleMania 40, where Damian Priest
It's a year in
screwed
the making.
over, yeah, Drew McIntyre. But I mean, it's not like they haven't been encountering each other over the course of the year either.
Yeah, I think this is Drew's time to shine, though. I think this is he got screwed over real bad at last year's WrestleMania with Priest coming out and taking the belt off him after like 3 minutes.
Hmm.
It had to be one of the shortest title reigns in history. Maybe Yokozuna losing to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 9 was a shorter title reign.
Yoko
Uh,
challenged Hogan, okay? You can't forget about that.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, he accepted. Well, Mr. Fuji challenged him technically, but yeah, like Drew's been getting screwed over left and right throughout the last year. I really love what they've done with Drew's character, turning him into this salty heel that goes on these bitter promos and about how he's disrespected and all that. I really like what they've done with his character over the past year. I think they finally throw him a bone. He gets a moment here and he goes over Priest in this match.
Yeah, so in addition to Dominic cards going up, I think Drew McIntyre's cards are heavily undervalued, and that's something that almost should be studied at a different rate. I mean, the guy's one of the premier workers in WWE the last 5 years, carried the company during COVID, and yet some of his cards not going for much. So I think Drew with the win, I think he's got to be propelled into the world title picture at some point. I mean, honestly, maybe he ends up feuding with Jey Uso down the line
Yeah.
and takes the belt.
I think you're going to see that at some point. Maybe this year, like between now and SummerSlam, you're going to see Drew take on Jey Uso for the world title. I think that makes sense. Yeah, like other than that match last year when he had the belt for like 40 seconds. Like other than that, like you mentioned, like he was champion during COVID. Other than that, he hasn't really been in the picture for the titles. So maybe this is sort of a springboard for him. He goes over Priest, another former world champion, obviously, and that sort of propels him back into that main event conversation. I feel he deserves it. Like he said, he hasn't carried the company the past year. There's been a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I think he's done a great job with the character that they turned him into over the past year, and I think he deserves to get a win here, frankly.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt about it. And Damian Priest is good and all, but yeah, Drew McIntyre is right now on a very high level. Now, the next match after, I think we're going to have the women's team championship match between Bailey and Lyra Valkyria versus Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. Who do we think takes the win here?
Okay, my gut tells me that, Raquel and Liv are gonna find a way to skeeve the win here. They're gonna, cheat, hit them with the belts, do something, some kind of interference. Judgment Day helps. Dom comes out and helps them out in some way. I just feel like they're gonna like Bailey and Lyra are going to make a real push. It's going to feel like they got the championship won, and then Liv will pull the rug out from under them in some way. So I have them retaining the titles. But again, they've done this before where they have the unexpected partnership. All of a sudden they're the champions, and now they have to, figure out a program for them over the coming months. Maybe they get a rematch with Liv and Raquel. But my gut tells me that the Judgment Day heels are gonna pull this one out in some kind of scheming fashion.
Yeah, this seems like a match that again I know I keep going back to, and it could just be my Alexa Bliss fandom. This seems like the match that it was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Liv Morgan and Raquel for the tag belts. Am I
It would
wrong?
have been it would have been a funny bit, Luke, if just every match you kept going. You know what? I don't know why they don't incorporate Alexa Bliss into
I'm
this.
just saying. I'm
Why
telling
doesn't
you,
Alexa Bliss take on John Cena? This is
it could have had.
unfair.
She did pin Randy Orton. You cannot forget about
Yeah, that's true.
WrestleMania
Yeah.
2021.
Well, maybe she comes out. Maybe that's her moment to come
That
out
it
in this
could
match, and
be.
like that sort of sets up. Maybe she helps Bailey and Lyra win the titles,
Mhm.
and maybe you set up a Liv versus Alexa type of thing going on.
Maybe. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it just seems like something. I mean, really, you're gonna have. I know, like you, like it just seems like there were certain things that are missing so far, and I know we've mentioned other people, but like it seemed like there was a Bailey Roxanne feud that looked like it was about to happen. Didn't happen. It just seemed like
yeah.
they had all these feuds that were about to start, and then they were like, nah, forget it, we'll do it later.
That goes back to what we were talking about, where like they feel like that it feels like every week is the Pine Barrens episode of The Sopranos. They go toward in one direction and then it just drops off. You don't hear about it
Yeah.
again. But yeah, it kind of makes this event kind of hard to predict. It's just why like I'm sort of just going off my gut instinct on these things.
Yeah, I'm going for Liv and Raquel retaining the tag belts, and maybe Bailey and Lyra reigniting their IC title feud as a result. One feels like the other one cost them the match or something to that effect, and it just kind of continues. I mean, the Lyra Bailey match at last week's Raw, I thought was really outstanding. But as we've talked about before off camera, of course, but I think that Lyra has a lot of talent, just needs to work on the character. It's very early on her main roster stay. She's only been on for a little over a year at this point, but has a lot of growth in the character development, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, she seems kind of bland every time she comes out. It feels kind of forced. So like, but that's another thing where like, maybe the writing team just has to work with her. Maybe she doesn't seem to have like a ton of like natural
Yeah,
charisma, ability, whatever. She's good in the ring, but like they might have to just work with her to come up with something
yeah,
there.
the crowd
It's
certainly gets behind her for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Now after the women's tag match, we have a match that it just seems like again, I'm sure it's going to be a very good match, but it seems like it was thrown together very quickly, especially after it seems as though AJ Styles may be feuding with Braun Breaker, but
yeah.
AJ,
That's what I thought was going to happen.
yeah, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. We know Logan Paul, of course, he's a big name, big on social media, almost as big as the One of One card show. We know that, but Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul is going to be winning this match.
Really? So like, what's like, tell me, explain.
Um,
I have I have AJ Styles winning, but I want to hear your explanation first.
I think Logan Paul, again, trying to continue to build him up as a big name. He's probably going to be somebody who, within the next 2 to 3 years, does win a world title. You just want to keep having him win at WrestleMania. He shockingly beat both Randy Orton and Kevin Owens last year at Mania. So I mean, I think it just kind of continues him on the path of like we got to build him up. AJ Styles, he's kind of in the later end of his career. They're gonna have him putting people over. It's kind of almost even a surprise that he has a match at Mania because he was off for a bit and back. Yeah, I just think he's set up to lose.
Man, you kind of convinced me there. But for the
Yeah.
sake of this discussion, I'll go the opposite. I'll stick with my pick of AJ Styles. I just feel this is a situation like I guess it's fair to say that like at the end of your career you start to put people over. But he's another guy where along with CM Punk, I just wonder how much longer he's going to be around. And the way I see this going is that it's a great match, riveting stuff. The crowd's into it. They're chanting, "This is awesome." AJ Styles scores a thrilling win where they're both almost like dead by the end of it. But then, Logan Paul goes up from behind, attacks him from behind, beats the crap out of him after the match is over, and sort of gets his heel heat that way. And, that sort of starts a whole new trajectory of Logan Paul to start sort of not from the bottom, but like sort of starting from an even playing field where he sort of goes up from there.
Ooh, yeah,
I
cool
don't know
guy
that
Logan is giving away his Pokemon cards. I don't know.
I just don't. I just feel. Again, it's my gut, Luke. It's my gut that AJ is going to go over in this match, but I feel like the way it's going to happen is that Logan Paul is going to have sort of the last laugh, where like he's going to beat him up after the match is over and get his heat, and maybe it continues that way.
Mhm.
But maybe like that's sort of where he can sort of start setting him up as a guy he demands respect, he deserves respect, and it's sort of almost like a bitter reaction to the fact that he lost, as opposed to I won, now I'm the best, and now I deserve a shot. Like I feel like it's going to be sort of he's going to lose, and then he's going to be bitter and mad and sort of lash out. Like that's how I sort of feel it's
Yeah,
going to
I
go.
mean that's certainly a plausible thing. And I will say this, of these two, talk about somebody who one could make a case of being undervalued in the card sector. AJ Styles stuff just does not go for a lot of money. And
Mhm.
Logan Paul does not have any WWE cards at the moment. I mean, Logan
Hmm.
Paul stuff, a one of one superfractor auto, especially from a guy who, again, social media star, uh, guy who, has millions of followers, super popular within WWE. He's a great heel. I mean, his stuff, if they once they start producing a Logan Paul card for WWE, his stuff's gonna go for big money.
Yeah, like that. I mean, maybe Logan Paul's like almost like too big for the card world. Like maybe that's sort of,
Well, I
or at
mean,
least maybe how he feels about it. I'm surprised that he wouldn't have something
some people have
NFT or
said
something like that.
some people have said that he has some other deals at the moment that's preventing him from having licensed WWE stuff, which
That
I
makes sense.
kind of makes sense based upon
Got his hand in a lot of
yeah.
things.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
He's
sure.
not just a WWE guy, which is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you even want to invite us on his show, we could do his podcast, right?
I know he's no one of one cards, but he's
No, definitely not. Uh, now I think the next match that they're gonna have after this, I mean, this is a weird build. I mean, we got Randy Orton versus we don't even know who. I know that obviously the Kevin Owens seemed to be the perfect person they had slotted for Randy Orton. Obviously, that was the match that was supposed to happen. It seems as though there was the legit injury, of him being out for I'm hearing up, 12 months, 18 months, maybe even beyond. Um, to the point where like with the way and when everything happened, it almost seemed like it was not real. Like it almost seemed like it was part of the storyline, but it seems like that no, that's not the case. He's legit out. Um, I think that they're gonna have Randy Orton either facing someone like a Nick Aldis. Uh, that maybe if they had the Rock was wearing a New Japan Pro Wrestling shirt, are they gonna pull somebody from New Japan Pro Wrestling, send like a Naito over to wrestle? I don't know. It just seems like we could be having, I don't know, are they going to bring Solo Sikoa out for Randy Orton to give like a 10-second RKO and just have him pin him quickly? Are we going to get a returning Aleister Black or Rusev? Are we going to get that?
that would
I
be exciting.
Yeah, but it's like if you're going to do that, are you going to have any of them actually lose to Randy Orton, especially if you're bringing them back after being away for a long time? I don't know if you're going to want to do that.
Well, here's the thing, Luke. What about Sami Zayn? We talked earlier, like he's
Yeah,
conspicuously absent from the card. Maybe that's his chance to come out.
but
So
for
that's
what?
just like the biggest name I could think of that would make sense and like put on an actual good match and like fill the sort of time that they wanted to with Kevin Owens. Maybe there's I don't know. I forget exactly how that storyline went though. Did Kevin Owens betray Sammy?
Uh,
Like how did
Kevin
that?
o Kevin Owens, yeah, was mad at the fact that Sammy was, never siding with him and went with the bloodline again and all that stuff.
And so like, but I'm just trying to remember. Is there any like real connection between Sammy and Randy Orton?
No, no.
Okay.
Not
Okay. So there's no like
no real deep connection, no.
okay. So well that's I guess maybe more to my point where like they could come up with something fresh there and maybe even connect it to Kevin Owens somehow.
I visited
Or Sami Zayn
the
comes out and
hospital.
I see like Randy Orton coming out and issuing an open challenge basically, and then someone comes out, the music hits.
Yeah.
Our friends off the air, they had an interesting suggestion. What about Joe Hendry if he came out as a surprise opponent?
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. I mean, I feel like that would get a pop, but I mean, Randy Orton's still probably going to win. If that's the case.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is sort of a situation where Randy Orton's got to do the job, right? It'd be weird for him to come out,
But
issue an open challenge, and just win,
but depending upon what happens in the main event later on, Randy Orton did say he was going for the belt. So, I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know if Randy Orton's going to lose. That's why I feel like Randy Orton's winning.
See, that's an interesting. That just made a light bulb go off in my head. Like maybe he's going for the biggest belt, and I could see him challenging an old rival for
Mhm.
that at some point.
Would agree because we haven't seen enough of those matches over the course of
No, no, yeah, that's what everyone's been asking for. There's a lot of
the
demand
yeah.
for that these days.
But I mean, there might now, especially with the possible face heel dynamic. Uh, now, I think Randy's going to win. I don't know who he's going to face. I think Randy's just going to win. Um,
Okay, we could make another side bet here. I'll make a side bet that he makes an open challenge. Someone comes out and pulls off the upset, like
mhm.
a little roll up pin out of nowhere. Like, oh my God, he wins. Oh my God, they won. Whoever it is.
Maybe it's Otis.
Yeah, maybe it's a Kaiser.
Yeah, no, he's good at taking the fall. Uh, Now I think the second to last match of the night is the Women's World Championship match. This has been an oddly booked feud where it looked like we were having Bianca Belair going against Rhea Ripley, but then Io Sky gets involved in the feud, ends up winning the Women's World Championship, and is going to be walking into WrestleMania for the second straight year as world champion. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, Luke. I'm glad you said that. I don't have Io Sky losing the title for two WrestleManias in a row. I got Io Sky retaining in this match, and it's a like you said, it's been a little odd. It's a little hard to sort of figure out how they'll go about doing that with the finish.
Mhm.
Maybe Io Sky's old friend Bailey that beat her last year at WrestleMania comes out and helps her, drapes her over, Rhea or Bianca to get her the win. But I got Io Sky retaining in this one. I feel like the whole thing is almost sort of centered around Rhea and Bianca. Two they have the pedigree. They've been in this spot before multiple times, and so I see that program sort of continuing between the two of them. I just don't see it being for the title. I got Io Sky retaining at WrestleMania. Maybe something changes even the night after WrestleMania or the next PLE. She drops the belt, but I just don't see them making Io Sky drop the belt for another WrestleMania, second WrestleMania in a row. I feel like she's earned the right to sort of retain this time, and so whatever happens afterward, I got Io Sky walking out with the belt.
Well, I think you are very wrong.
Oh, okay. So what do you got?
Well, I know that there is talk about how at WrestleMania 34, she was involved in a pre-show battle royal that she was tossed and lost. But there's one woman that has never lost at WrestleMania in this match. And you know who
Bianca?
that is?
It's Bianca, right? She's
Bianca
undefeated at
Belair,
WrestleMania.
undefeated at WrestleMania at 4-0. She's going to go 5-0. She's going to win. Bianca Belair, whose card prices, by the way, are heavily undervalued, in my opinion. She's one of the best workers. She's got a great character. She is amazing. She's going to win.
I'm not taking away from Bianca. Bianca's my favorite
Mhm.
uh, women's wrestler in the company. To be clear, like she's electrifying. Like I got nothing against her. I'm just curious to see how that would happen. Like, like the reason, like my gut again doesn't have Io Sky dropping the belt two WrestleManias in a row, but maybe they could get around that by having her not take the pin. Bianca pins Rhea. And so
Yeah.
Io Sky loses the belt without getting pinned. And so maybe she could come out the next night and say, "You never pinned me. You
Yeah,
never
this
pinned
could
me,
this could be a
Bianca.
feud
Take
that
me on one on
stretches.
one."
This could be a feud that stretches a lot longer, I think, than we
Yeah.
realize. And I think this could be one. I know that there's a lot of different factors into it. You could kind of get Naomi into it later if you wanted to bring Jade in as well. Like there's a lot of people that you could bring into it down the line if you want to escalate it further with
Yeah. No, that's what happens when you have these triple threat matches where like you can have the guy lose the or the lady lose the title without even getting pinned or submitted. And so like you could set up any number of ensuing stories coming out of that. And so yeah, gonna be interesting to see particularly who takes the pin. Not even who wins, but like who gets pinned and then what ensues from that is
in
gonna be
in
interesting to see.
and can we take a moment to address the crowds the past month who have been booing Bianca like almost week after week for legitimately no reason at all. She has consistently been a face in this entire situation. And yet Rhea Ripley, who comes off as rather whiny at times, is somehow beloved. And I know that, she's got a great character. She's a great wrestler. No, I'm not putting that aside, but in terms of how this storyline is being booked, she comes off as the person who's in the wrong. And yet the crowd just does not see it that way. I That's something that
Yeah.
boggles my mind.
That's what it's like the past, 10, 15 years in wrestling is that like the crowd doesn't just take what you give them, like they're not just gonna let you shove things down their throat. And so I don't know, maybe they're just sick of Bianca because her character hasn't really changed at all in the last several years. So they're just kind of tired of her. But you could say the same thing about Rhea Ripley. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe they think because after her injury, she deserves to come back and sort of have a big moment at WrestleMania, especially after last year and how everything's gone the past year with her and Liv Morgan and all that. So I could see that, I suppose. But yeah, like maybe Bianca's due for a heel turn of some kind. I don't know. Maybe I've been
Yeah, I
missing.
mean,
Was she a heel at some point or?
she in NXT she was a heel.
Okay, so like yeah, never in WWE. So yeah, maybe
I mean,
she's
I mean when you
due for
think
a
of
heel
the when
turn.
you think of the EST gimmick, like you could easily make that a really incredible heel. But she is a great face. She's always participating in various activities outside of, the WWE ring, like that does a lot of great stuff for the community. So I don't know if they want to do that, but again, if John Cena just turned heel recently, I guess everything gets thrown out the window. Although, did John Cena really turn heel? No, I don't know. Um,
That would be kind of interesting if Bianca turned heel for the first time at WrestleMania. I don't know how they would pull that off.
I mean, they could
Um,
have her, do something, or maybe she was with Naomi all along or something. I don't, you could make it work for sure. Although, I mean, that would involve, certain parts of the storyline from before kind of having,
Yeah. No, that's funny. Like if she comes out and helps Naomi
yeah.
win on night one, I'm
Uh,
not gonna feel good about my bet of Io Sky after that. I was like, okay, now
yeah.
Bianca's gonna come out and win the title back.
Yeah, because she hasn't, yeah, like she was involved in that storyline a little bit at the beginning because they kind of had to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she hasn't really been involved in it much. So they kind of moved her to Raw after.
That's my prediction for the match of the weekend, by the way.
Or this match right here.
Io Sky, Rhea, and
Oh,
Bianca.
yeah, I think for sure. No, without a doubt.
Like Io versus Bailey was like maybe a top three match on the card last year. Like she's great. Bianca and Rhea are both great. So like I don't see how that one disappoints.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. My opinion, the Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks match from WrestleMania 37 is one of the greatest matches of the 2020s at WrestleMania.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to go back
Oh
and
yeah.
rewatch that one.
Yeah. And then I would say Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair at 39 is one of the best, maybe one of the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
that was a good one.
WrestleMania history.
Yeah.
Seriously. Um, so this leaves us with one more match. One
One
more match.
more match. One more.
So one more match, and that is John Cena challenging for the undisputed WWE Championship against the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. But I mean, is The Rock going to be there?
Yeah, what the hell's going on with that?
I
Where's
don't
the
know.
Rock been?
It doesn't matter. No.
It doesn't matter where he's been. He's been on Jabroni Boulevard apparently,
Yeah,
hiding in the
yeah,
SmackDown hotel.
yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's on purpose or if he's just been, screwing off, doing God knows what, going into Japan, like doing other projects, like stuff outside of wrestling. I'm not totally up to date on exactly everything that The Rock's been doing. I'm just wondering, like, has he just been busy, or are they purposely keeping him out of the spotlight for him to have a big surprise return to help John Cena win the title on Sunday?
The bare minimum, Travis Scott's going to be there. He's at Coachella these past 2 weekends. I mean, he's going to be there. He's without question going to be there.
Nah, I mean, everyone knows wrestling's big three, the Holy Trinity: The Rock, John Cena, and Travis Scott.
Did you
The big
see
three.
did you see the one of one foil fractor Travis Scott, John Cena, Rock autograph card redemption just got pulled, and some people are thinking that could go for, high five figures, low six figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, that John Cena heel turn is going to go down as one of the most shocking moments in the history of the company, really. After everything, like John Cena was a face for 20 years, basically,
But
and then he pulls that.
I think there needs to be, in order to seal the deal, he's has to win at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't see Cody retaining the title and sort of extinguishing this whole thing about John Cena making history, beating out Ric Flair, winning the 17th world title. Like I think it's all set up for that to happen night two of WrestleMania. I just don't see it being clean. I see The Rock coming out to help. Maybe Travis Scott plays some kind of role. Like something screwy is going to happen. It's not going to be a normal finish. John Cena is going to do the classic. He's going to do the classic heel thing. He's gonna win by nefarious means.
Yeah,
And
if there's
Cody will have the right to come out afterward and said, "You didn't earn this title. You didn't earn the right to carry this title into the next era of wrestling." And maybe they have a rematch of some kind. Maybe they bring it back they build it back up for SummerSlam. But yeah, either way, I see John Cena taking the title.
if there's any match that is going to have a ref bump of all ref bumps, it is this one.
Yeah, there's going to be a dead ref, and Charles Robinson or someone's going to sprint out. Like there's going to be a second ref, maybe a third ref. Like
I
there's going to be some kind of craziness.
Here's my guess. The only way that Cody Rhodes wins is if he gets help from either like a Roman Reigns or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my God, that would be great if they paid that off after they couldn't do it last year.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. That's the only way he's winning.
Yeah,
No other way.
yeah. But this goes back to the Randy Orton conversation earlier. Like if he's talking about going for the world title, makes too much sense for him to have one more match. Speaking of one more match, have one more go at it with Cena. Like it doesn't have to be SummerSlam or anything like that, but have those guys do a quick program for the title. Maybe they put the belt on Orton. I don't know. But that
Backlash,
just sort of makes sense for those two to have one more match.
because Backlash is in St. Louis, and that's where Randy Orton's from.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think we get a John Cena Randy Orton match that ends in a Cena win, and I think it just kind of continues out. I'm not sure who other challengers for Cena would be. I mean, run it back with an AJ Styles, like there's a lot of opportunity there for Cena to get good wins, but sets him up to eventually lose down the line to somebody else. Obviously
Yeah,
somebody else, unless
that
he
makes
really
sense.
wanted to retire, right, with the belt.
Right.
Uh, Here's a couple things. We've just a couple minutes left. Does Ric Flair just show up? Not saying he's going to get involved in the match because he's in his mid 70s, but does Ric Flair, I mean, although he probably could have another match if he wanted to, which he wouldn't shock me. Does he show up?
I hope not. I think that he's fossilized enough. I don't think like you remember a few years ago when they had Stone Cold and Vince.
Mhm.
have that one last
Oh
confrontation.
yeah,
That didn't go over well at all.
the V
I
world
don't want to see
together.
that. I don't want to see Flair coming out and
Yeah,
stumbling around and you can barely get a woo out because he can't
or
speak anymore.
or at least he cuts
That
a
would be kind of sad.
promo. Maybe he cuts a promo in the back to John Cena or something. I don't know. I could. It wouldn't shock me if it was.
Oh, well, if they did a little backstage thing where he comes in from off the camera and gets
Yeah.
a nice pop and gives him a little pep talk before, like I could see that that'd be okay with. I'm talking about like coming out to the ring, cutting a
Oh
big
no,
promo and actually wrestling. Like I don't want
no,
any I don't
no,
want him anywhere near the ring if I'm
no, no
to
purple
make sense.
shirt showing up on that day.
No, I don't want any of that happening.
Now, one other thing, if we're looking at cards, I mean, you have to assume John Cena wins his 17th world title. Obviously, there's a lot of dispute because Ric Flair himself claims that he's technically won more world titles. There's some shenanigans with that. But WWE recognizes that he has 16 world titles. If John Cena reaches 17, you have to assume when it comes to his card prices that they're going to go up, even more than ever. You would have to assume that.
Yeah, I would think so. If you liken it to, baseball, Barry Bonds breaking the home run record, things like that. Alex Ovechkin just broke the all-time goals record in the NHL. It'd be something like that. Like I could definitely see the value for a Cena card going up now that he's like, the record holder for. So I wonder if Ric Flair's counting some like old NWA titles or something that WWE doesn't recognize, maybe.
Yeah, if I were to pull it up, if I remember correctly, there were some nights in which like the titles got swapped in other locations, but like they recognized the belt as a continuous one because it may have not have been on like television. There's some
Hmm.
certain weird things like that, if my memory serves me correctly. I think he recognizes as high as like 23 or 24 or something, right? It's
Yeah, I mean.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and knowing him, he'll count like every single title he ever won.
Yeah.
Going back to his early days.
I think some titles may not be recognized by others as a world title and everything because what constitutes world title, like all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest thing is to just go by whatever WWE counts as their
Yeah.
official record, and so if Cena's the man, he's the man.
Mhm. So Matt, any other before we head off into the sunset and eventually watch WrestleMania 41, any other thoughts that you have? Any other predictions?
Well, you mentioned you touched on the idea of like a big name interfering. Like, I think the only one I would really want to see in Cena Cody interfering is The Rock because of his obvious involvement in that. I wouldn't like it if they did. Maybe I'm just selfish because I was at that WrestleMania a year ago when The Undertaker came out and The Rock came out and like all these guys came out. Cena came out as a surprise. Like I don't want this parade of like old stars do that again. Like
Yeah,
that was
no,
sort
that
of a
would be.
special moment. I hope they don't overdo that again. I just hope it's The Rock. Maybe someone comes out to challenge The Rock, but don't do The Undertaker again. Like Stone Cold again might be a little much.
Mhm.
I just hope they don't overdo that part of it. But
Yeah.
that's my closing thought.
No, no, I agree with you on that. So, Matt, I want to thank you very much for participating in this podcast. This is the One of One Cards YouTube channel. We also have the One of One Cards Instagram channel. Matt, you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. We might have to do more of these.
We will.
All right. You have a great day.
All right, you too.